Hello and welcome to a very wet Oulton Park, where this weekend we'll be holding rounds 5 and 6 of the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship. So far this year, Archie Clark has been the man to beat. He's won 4 out of 4 races. But hot on his tails with 2 close P2s is Hadley Simpson. It really is all to play for. They'll be battling it out. It'll be full of action. Archie, you've had an exceptional start to the season. 4 wins from 4 starts.
Yeah, I couldn't have gone any better, so fingers crossed I can do the same, but I'm just going to give it my best.
Well, you've been doing exceptionally so far. How have you found the transition from Ginetta Juniors up to the GT Championship? It must be a bit of a leap.
It's definitely a leap, but I've really enjoyed it. It's just kind of like a bigger junior with a bit more power, but it's definitely more fun, especially with the new engine.
Yeah, speaking of the increased power, how have you found the car at a track like this where it's quite tricky and quite technical? Are you excited to give it a go?
Definitely, I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to it since Silverstone.
And you're still so early in your career. What are your goals for this season? You like the car, you're excited for the track, so you're just going to have fun?
Pretty much, and hopefully we can win, but that's obviously everyone's goal, so we'll see what happens.
Our first Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship race of the weekend saw the conditions change quite significantly since qualifying. A dry qualifying, but a very wet track greeted the drivers from the start of the race, and it immediately led to some drama. Nick White elbowed wide at the first corner, and the man second in the championship was at the back of the field, just 1 corner in. His day, though, was going better than it was for Mike Taylor, who speared into the barriers down at Cascades, retired from the race and brought out an early safety car. There was also a spin for James Rowling right in front of the recovering Nick White. James, though, was able to continue. Then at the end of lap 1, there was another collision as round the outside of Archie Clark went Harry Gamble. They made contact, Clark spun, and crucially had broken rear suspension. The championship leader was out of the race. After a brief safety car interlude, the race continued on. Jack Collins was desperately trying to get back ahead of Robert Cronin, who'd pipped him to the lead in the opening couple of corners, but it was Harry Gamble charging through behind who was grabbing the attention. He moved into third and set off after the leaders. A scary spin then for Dominic Paul at the British chicane sent the plastic markers scattering, but he rejoined with no damage. Harry Gamble tried and tried and tried to get ahead of Jack Collins, and finally on the final lap of the race he survived that slide on the curbs exiting Cascades corner and finished the move up at Island Bend. It was a very brave move. It was brilliant racing between the two of them, and Harry Gamble took a very well-deserved second place on the road. It was, though, Robert Cronin who came home to claim his first victory of the season.
Jack, it's very far from easy racing today. You've done a fantastic job to land on the podium.
Yeah, I'm really happy with it. Obviously, I got pipped on the second last lap, I think it was, by Harry, but he's in a different class. The elite cars seem to have a little bit more on setup that race. I think it was a shame to lose the lead on the first corner. I would have liked to hold it for at least a lap, but hopefully I can do that. I'm starting pole on Monday as well, so hopefully I can keep it in the lead for at least a lap. Hopefully the whole race, obviously, but yeah, my first time in the wet. My first time in the wet in a 400 horsepower, pretty much a GT4 car. So I'm very happy with how it went. Yeah.
You should be, and even then, to put on some great controlled, clean battles in conditions like this, you must have had to be so focused.
Yeah, I mean, the focus from everyone is great. I mean, I had a really good scrap with Harry, tried to keep him behind me, but he just had that little bit extra, I think. But I think it takes 2 to have a clean race, and he did a really good job just keeping me to the inside on the dry line, so couldn't quite get the traction down, and he just drove up happy.
Yeah, it is so important to trust the other drivers on the track, but also to trust your car. How did you find it in this weather?
Really good, actually. I think the Pirellis did well to keep us on the track. Yeah, slippy, definitely. I wasn't really expecting a wet race today, so yeah, a lot of concentration, and the cars are mega. Yeah, 100%.
Rob, congratulations, silverware in Donington and now here in Oulton as well. It was such a challenging race, especially with these delightful conditions. How did you stay in control of your car?
We got out of assembly actually, and our wiper stopped working. So I kind of said, I have to do it in the first corner. I'm just going to be caught up in spray the whole race and won't be able to see. So
So you just made it stick. How did you see all of the corners coming up? Did that just come down to track knowledge?
No, like once you didn't have a car in front of you, the screen would clear, but if you had a car in front of you, I was pretty screwed, alright. But
So were you quite confident that once you'd done the overtake, leaving them in your spray, oh gosh, there's rain coming down, leaving them in your spray would lock in the win for you?
yeah, I knew once I had that done, I could try and manage it anyway. And it was a bit sketchy for the first few laps, but then they started fighting behind, so it was alright.
Harry, you were putting on an incredible show in these difficult conditions. You must have had to be so confident in yourself and the car.
Yeah, I've always been, well, last year I found myself quite good in the wet. That was the first time I've driven the car this year in the wet, so it was a bit high. Luckily we got 2 green flag laps, and then, yeah, just managed to get my head down and then find a bit of confidence and then go from there, really.
And in this weather, the spray from the cars in front is a real issue for visibility.
Yeah.
Did you encounter that?
Yeah, definitely, yeah, you're just trying to get out of the spray, but then also try and stay on the wet line as most as possible, so it's a bit of a fine balancing act, but yeah, I think I mastered it in the end.
So did you manage to find the grip then on the wet line?
Yeah, it's basically just stay off the dry line basically everywhere, and yeah, stay off the curbs and stuff like that. So yeah, it worked in the end.
Ali, fastest lap of the race in far from easy conditions. You must be so made up.
Honestly, like thinking back to my first race here last year was chaotic. Like I think I was looking backwards more than forwards that race. I think getting fastest lap is such a surprise, especially like growing up really far away from rain. So I'm really proud of myself and happy, and P1's also happy, but I'm honestly happier about the fastest lap over anything.
Well, it is a true accolade to be the fastest man on the circuit there. It also speaks to how much you've come on since last season, that you've progressed onto a winning car. Do you think that that's owing to your experience with the championship?
I think definitely seat time has helped the most, doing a lot of time around the track. I think the team's been really supportive, giving me good advice, more or less telling me brake and use the curbs more. Made sure to do that today, and clearly it works.
Welcome back to Oulton Park. It's race 2 of the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship, and we are in for a treat. It's a 40-minute endurance race with a pit stop, so teams and drivers are going to really have to focus on strategy. It's going to be a good one.
The 6th round of the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship saw changeable conditions here at Oulton Park and drama at the first corner. Archie Clark jumped from 5th on the grid to go 3rd, and that became the lead when front row starters Robert Cronin and Jack Collins collided and set about a chain reaction behind. Alex Duncan was in the barriers, Cameron Pratt-Thompson avoided one major incident, and then as he rejoined, bang! Mike Taylor made contact with the right front corner of his car, and they were both out of the race. Taylor's car making significant contact with the barriers, and understandably, the race was thrown under safety car. Then the rain stopped a couple of drivers, Robert Cronin and Jack Collins most notably, pitted for slick tyres. But as the race restarted, the rain made a return, and track conditions continued to get more and more treacherous. As they did so, Harry Gamble was coming into his own, charging round the outside of Mackenzie Douglas, the reigning champion, to take 2nd, and then making a brilliant move round the outside of Archie Clark and Lodge. He took the lead of the race. It was a brilliant drive from him, and he would never look back from there. Then a spin for Robert Cronin. The slick tyres just weren't working for him as the conditions got worse, and he would end up a lap down by the checkered flag. Then off into the gravel went the number 3 machine of James Townsend. That set about another safety car period, during which the mandatory pit stops for most drivers could be conducted. After the restart, Harry Gamble streaked away out in front, whilst behind Dominic Paul tangled with Emma Tomlinson late on. Emma ending up off in the gravel but did rejoin to finish outside of the top 10. Harry Gamble, though, claimed a first overall victory of the season. The Pro-Am driver doing really well in the rain here at Oulton Park.
Nick, was that as enjoyable to race in as it was to watch?
Yeah, it was good fun, to be fair. Not knowing whether it was going to rain or not at the beginning was a bit sketchy, and I saw a couple of them dive in the pits and thought, oh god, maybe they made the genius move. But yeah, staying out in the wet's obviously proved the right decision. And yeah, we had good pace all race. Stayed out of trouble and kept the gap to Gamble as close as we could.
Just how hard is it from your seat in the cockpit to make judgments on the weather, not knowing what's happening?
A lot of it's looking around what other people are doing, to be honest. But honestly, when I saw Rob go into the pits for slicks, I thought I should have done the same. It was so dry, but yeah, obviously the rain started coming a bit then, and we could just eke out the wet tyres until it's wet enough.
With these 40-minute races being so strategy heavy, irrespective of the weather conditions, do you see going forward a strategy being quite important?
Yeah, absolutely. You can see cars all out of position when we're behind the safety car. We had a lap car in front of us. So yeah, it can play a big part in where you finish, depending when you pit.
Well, Archie, that was wet to dry to wet to dry. How did you cope?
Well, I was just trying to keep up with Harry the entire thing, but he was just way too fast, so well done to Harry. I also had to fend off Nick White at the very end of the race because he was also really quick, but I really enjoyed it, especially my first time being in the wet. So,
Harry, you had us all on the absolute edges of our seats.
Yeah, it was a crazy race. It was a bit of a close call before the race whether to go slicks or dries. So, yeah, once we settled on the wets and then, settled down into a rhythm, a couple started pitting for dry, so you're a bit like questioning yourself, but yeah, then it started raining luckily again. So, yeah, settled into a rhythm and then pulled a bit of a gap, so managed to look after the tyres and, settled in, not too bad.
Well, we noticed with the strategy, it was a very close call with that pit stop. You did get a little bit lucky with it.
As in the tyres?
With the safety car?
Yeah, luckily the safety car came out just as I was boxing, so I don't know whether that helped or not, but it managed to bunch the field up and then had to pull a bit of a gap again, but the pace was in the car, so just to bring it home in the end.
Ali, our fastest AM driver in a very tricky race. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I think I really enjoyed the race. The start was quite dry, so it was a new challenge trying to keep the tyres cool enough and not letting this back stick out on you too much, and I think it was all about keeping it together and making it to the end.
You were saying yesterday you're not the most experienced driver in the rain, so how did you adjust your style to the wet track and the low grip?
I think I thought of where I'd like to brake. I was like, no, I'm going to brake a bit later. So then every turn I just realised, I was like, oh, perfect. So
a bit later seems quite counterintuitive.
Well, that was the idea. It was to try something different and see if it works, and it worked.